The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business. Right here in Central New York. The Local Show is locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now your hosts, Tom and Steve.
You found The Local Show right here on 570 WSYR 1069 FM. And of course, do not forget that we are on YouTube, so you can go over there and see all the past programs as well. You might find somebody that, you were looking for and say, oh, geez, this person was on.
Remember the ad council campaign, See It on the Radio?
Yeah, See It on the Radio.
I love that because you picture it. And did you used to listen to radio dramas, Tom?
I did, yeah.
Like Chicken Man or before it or after? What did you listen to?
Well, I used to listen to, what's his name, Garrison Keillor.
Okay.
And he was on National Public Radio and had that whole town there, and...
Remember the sound effects record, like the first, because this was your world more than mine, but it was like, it would like cut number 7, creaking door, yes. And you would try to drop that into something.
Yes, that was fun.
It was fun. So now we just we don't do that. We just talk to people.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, everything's talk, podcasts and video and everything. It just, and being more natural, that's the hardest transition for me is to be just natural. I mean, I was always natural when you're interviewing somebody, right? But nowadays it seems like the more relaxed and the more unprofessional you are, the more views you get.
Which explains my success. Which
is why you're on with me. That's right.
Because you really are. I mean, you're polished.
Yeah, it's hard to not, be. So right now, that's why I'm just like, just to do that for myself, to say, see, it's okay to do that now.
People know, and I hear it all the time, Tom, that guy. That was called that guy. Guy does a good job. I'm like, yeah, that's Tom. So Tom, who's this guy sitting next to me?
Paul Volcko is his name, yes. Treasurer and past president of the Syracuse Thunderbirds Aero Radio Society, otherwise known as STARS. How are you there, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Tom?
Good, man. So explain where you came from, what you did professionally, and what got you into this type of hobby.
Okay. I'm a computer programmer.
Okay.
I grew up in Marcellus and went out to Rochester. And then I moved back in 2006. And I've always been interested in aircraft and helicopters and stuff like that. And,
I gotcha.
I had a couple of family members involved with doing RC flying and that kind of thing.
RC standing for radio control. Yes,
yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I got out of college, came back, had a little bit of money to play with. So I started getting into it that way.
And you still work full time?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I work from home for the most part.
And you're still a programmer?
Yep.
Okay, great. So explain to people what this hobby is and what the organization's all about.
I'm like I said, I'm past president of STARS. I've been with the club, 10 years,
Gotcha.
A little over 10 years
So
now.
it's a flying club.
Yeah, it's a flying club up in Pennville. It's a little bit east of Phoenix.
Gotcha.
Just north of Euclid Restaurant.
Right.
There
Yeah.
All right. So what are you flying?
I started off with helicopters. Helicopters was my main thing. But now I do airplanes and all that stuff. At the club, we do airplanes, helicopters, drones. There's also some people involved with control line. If you remember
Yes,
way back in the
yes.
day, it used to be called U-Control.
Yeah, it was like flying a kite, but the plane is tethered to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like two steel lines with a handle, and you're going around in a circle with it.
Way back when, I'm 60 years old, so I remember when I was 15, 14, I got into balsa wood planes. Is that what these are, the balsa wood?
It can be, for sure. There's still people that build from kits or even plans, and they'll cut out the wood themselves.
Yeah, that was so fun. Yeah.
That's definitely done still. There's also kits. They kind of come pre-cut for you, and you have to build them that way. And then
you put like a paper mache over the balsa wood, and then you have to paint it with like an acrylic or something, and it tightens up.
Yeah, you could do it that way. There's also like plastic heat shrink type coatings and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff these days, they've moved on to foam models for a lot of stuff. So you kind of build them. They're largely, assembled. All you do is kind of like major assembly, put the wings on, put the tail on, and you're up and flying within an hour.
I like the assembled part, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine me. It's like, I'm not crafty.
Right.
But I do like to fly. I have my 107. for the drone that we have, and so does Brad here. So
Cool.
we can do that commercially.
Yep.
With the Mavic with the Hasselblad camera attached to the top does a great job. Has the drones moved into your space? Is everybody flying a drone now?
Not really. There was maybe 5 years ago. There was a big kind of rush. DJI is kind of a big name in the drone industry, so people are starting to get into that, and there was kind of a big mainstream push toward that. But that kind of fizzled out to a large degree. It's still very popular for professionals and people still wanting to get into it, but for the hobbyist part of it, it's still, at least for our club, it's still the airplanes.
You guys are doing more tricks and things too, right? You're not just flying straight like you would.
It depends. There's a lot of guys that they don't know how to do the tricks, so they're just kind of flying around in a circle, and they might do a loop here and there, that kind of thing. Yeah. But there are some people in our club that are very good. They call it 3D flying, where you can hover the plane off the prop. You're just hanging it around, doing all kinds of.
So Tom has a question he was afraid to ask, so I'm going to ask it.
All right.
So tell us about your biggest accident.
Biggest accident.
With most expensive.
That's all, Steve.
Most expensive. Oops.
My biggest accident? Let's see. Like I said, I'm in the helicopters. They tend to be a little bit more expensive than the airplanes.
Right. The original RC helicopters were complex.
Yeah, and they still are.
They have the tail rotor and the whole, and they're. I had looked at them years ago, thinking I could do aerial photography with them. Forget about that. It just doesn't work that well.
Yeah, especially back then. They're very hard to fly. They're easier to fly than they were, but they're still pretty difficult.
I see.
And so I've crashed a couple of them pretty bad. I just had one where I just kind of got back into helicopter flying after a few years off, and had an accident. Thing came in and it just destroyed it.
Are they salvageable the parts, or is it like we just write that
particular one? No, that was pretty much a write-off. I'm going to pull out the electronics and start with a whole new kit for that one.
Steve had a nice DJI Inspire 1 that he put into a evergreen tree up at a golf course.
Okay, true story.
He didn't realize it didn't have brakes.
True story. I was flying a little aggressively, and then found myself in New York City picking another one to finish the job the next day. Went to New York, grabbed another one. But you do see, I see the reels where they have incidents sometimes, but also some of these things are so complex. The detail, and they've got to cost $15,000. Has to
tens of thousands of dollars in some of the very large models.
Oh,
or some
really?
of the scale ones. If you get into doing jets, we do have a member that's into flying turbine jet.
No
model
kidding.
Aircraft. If you can get into that relatively cheap at a couple of grand, but it can go into tens of thousands.
Can people just go and watch?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when do you fly, and when could people go if they wanted to see it?
So I mean, if you go to our website, seeingmystars.com, we have on that webpage, we have cameras there. If you see them there, come out and watch anytime. Okay. Yeah. Usually every Thursday we do flight training out there, so there's something going on there. Okay. Usually every weekend there's something going on, and then we do have a couple of kind of major events throughout the year.
Good for kids, adults. This is kind of an everybody thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Flight training, we have 4 or 5 kids involved with it this year so far, and then we also train adults. So all ages.
That is amazing. So CNY Stars, builditflyit.com.
Thank you, Paul. You have a great rest of the day, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right. Kicking off hour number 2 of the local show, we're going to have a conversation with Chris Flaherty, President and CEO of ClearPath for Veterans. Frank Malfitano stops by, Executive Director of the National Grid Syracuse International Jazz Fest, and then John Murphy, owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts, and finally Ben Eberhardt is the co-director of Mid Lakes Navigation, all in hour number 2. Stick around. It starts really soon.